Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulih al-amin amma ba'd. It's always good to start off any kind of these programs with a little bit of Quran recitation. So we'll say Quran for a little bit, inshallah. And we'll talk about the opening of this presentation, the purpose behind it, and hopefully, inshallah, by the end of this, you will have some practical steps that you can take in order to, as I've said, finance your education without your money. Inshallah, that is the end goal. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم. So we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remembering that our final messenger and prophet is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We praise him. All thanks is to Allah. Whoever he guides, no one can misguide. And whoever he doesn't guide, no one can lead astray. So for today's workshop, before I begin, I do want to just talk about something real quickly in recognition of what this kind of a workshop is. Right? This kind of a workshop, I think, is probably one of the harder workshops for our community to talk about. Because when it comes to sharing some of the things and resources that we've used, our communities often take a little bit of a step back from it. Right? And even for me, it's not anything different either, because to talk about scholarships is also talk about how you have gotten certain things. And the issue with that is not necessarily the experiences I have and the ways that I've gotten certain things not necessarily will translate back to you, right? Maybe there will be other opportunities Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you. By the end of the day, we recognize that no matter what we get or we do not get, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We could put our hardest effort forward, do everything to the T, check off every single boxes. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not meant it for us, it will not happen. On the flip side, even if you didn't attend this lecture and didn't attend this workshop, didn't follow any of the checklists, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has meant it for you. You could put in one word and it will be meant for you. So I just want to start off with recognizing that as well. And also debating whether or not in this presentation, should I mention the things that I have gotten. And I chose actually not to because one, if you truly want to find out, you can just search me up and everything is honestly available online anyway nowadays. But real reason is because, just recognizing the fact that all of us are different. We're coming from different backgrounds, we have different experiences, and inshallah, part of this workshop will go through a checklist. In that checklist, it talks about how you as an individual is how you will end up getting some of these scholarships and some of the other resources that inshallah I'll be mentioning too. And just as a check, did you bring your laptop or something to take notes on? Everybody has something to take notes on, inshallah. And in the end, inshallah, we can.
There's some paper in the back.
And there's some paper in the back there as well. So let's start off with a little bit of statistics, inshallah. So approximately 46 to 47% of Canadian students reported receiving some form of scholarship, with the highest concentration awarded to those entering in their first year of study. Question for you guys. Who is not in university currently? You guys. Who is in university currently? And what year are you in? What year are you in? First year? Anyone higher than first year? What year are you in?
Second year.
Second year, perfect, inshallah.
My daughter is with.
There you go. That's good as well. Okay, good. And part of this presentation, we'll do an exercise as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about this. But scholarships are available on all different areas, right? For high school, for university, even beyond as well. So I don't want you to think there's only one route, it's multiple routes for it. So while many scholarships exist, only about 12.5% of students receive them. And we'll talk a little bit about why this is. 97% of recipients secure $2,500 or less. This is, I believe, per year in scholarships. With about only 0.2% winning awards of $25,000 or more. Now, this specific statistic here, it's referring to awards that are really high, right? For example, awards that give you thousands of dollars, right? Tens of thousands of dollars for some of them. Some of them which are like full ride scholarships. These are very small. But inshallah, in today's workshop, we'll talk about how you can actually achieve the same amount while still not being in the 0.2%. We'll talk about how we can do this. But the biggest statistic, over $10 million in scholarship funds. This is in Canada, by the way. This is not even including US. In Canada, $10 million in scholarship funds goes unclaimed annually. Unclaimed, it means no one has applied to it. So if you were to be the one to apply for it, you would have gotten them 100%. Even if you didn't meet some of the criteria. $10 million in scholarship funds goes unclaimed. Now I remember every single year, this figure goes up by $1 million. I remember when I started university, it was about $7 million. Now it's about 10. My question when I was starting university is, okay, they say $7 million is unclaimed, but where are they unclaimed? Where are these scholarships, right? So inshallah today, we'll talk about some of the ways that we can actually find these scholarships, how we can apply to them, and kind of something to keep in mind. But yes, there is a ton of money out there, right? One of the reasons why I want to do this workshop is because our community, unfortunately, we lack a lot of financial literacy, right? And there's not a lot of people to talk about this as well. So I hope, inshallah, by the end of this workshop, I will be able to give you some tools which will help you finance your journey, inshallah. In school, even if you are in some of those higher years of university, you can still apply to some scholarships as well. And again, remember, there is no limit to how much scholarship you can get, right? And we'll talk about some of the differences there as well. Some key highlights. With more than 115,000 scholarships in 2024, this database, and the database is from Scholarships Canada, has grown 24% since 2022. So every year there is more scholarships that are getting added. About 50% of scholarships do not require a specific field of study. There are more scholarships available for students in their first year, and this is about 8% more than the following years. And we'll talk about why this is actually as well. February, March, April are the most popular month for scholarship deadlines. We are in February right now. We'll be soon March. We'll soon April. So these are the prime months for scholarship hunting, if you want to call it that. Scholarships are increased for students in health and medical, computer science, math, and also others. Scholarships that require financial need are up 8%. Scholarships designated for females are up as well. And we'll talk actually more about this as well, because for those of you who are female, you have a major advantage than those of us who are male. So apologies, brothers. This is not under my control. But I do have this website that I want to show. I'm not sure if it will display. Just want to quickly display this, because this is a really nice website to find some of these statistics. Perfect. So this is a website called School Finder. This is a website called School Finder, and it has a report on scholarships in Canada for 2024. So it's not a current report, but this is about the current as it gets. And what I want to show you is this. They have some really nice graphs about different kinds of scholarships and different fields in which the scholarships are being distributed to. So here you can see about 25% is medical and health. So if you're somebody, for example, in nursing or biomedical, any of these kind of programs, right, you'll find there's a lot of scholarships available for them. And this also includes, I believe, research funding too. Research scholarships. Humanities and language is the next one. Computer science is about 7.7%. Again, arts is a little bit lower. The lowest being recreation. And this is by level of study. So bachelor's has the most amount of scholarships, right? This is, if you're trying to get a bachelor's, there are a ton of scholarships available for you. But not necessarily the scholarship that you get, you have to use for that specific, for example, program. And we'll talk about how this kind of works. Diplomas are second. Masters, there's very, very few. Of course, high school, you don't really need a scholarship for high school. So there's not that many for high school itself, for the diploma for high school. Now, about 96.4% of scholarships are for anybody. It's not gender, there's no gender equality for it. But 3.3% is dedicated towards females. If you notice on any of the scholarships, and this is, I can almost guarantee that any of the big scholarships you look at, you'll find that there has been, at least in one of these years, there was a Muslim hijabi sister who has been a recipient of that scholarship. This is just the trend nowadays. And we can talk more about why this is the case. We can talk about diversity, inclusion, all these policies that Canada has. But for those of you who are female, hijabi, and in a program of study, for example, STEM, you will find there's a ton of opportunities available for you. Again, apologies whether it's not my fault. I don't control this. But there's still about 96% that are general. Unfortunately for us brothers, I don't know of any scholarships that is only for male specific. So unfortunately we don't have that advantage. But inshallah we'll work on it. The government itself provides some scholarships as well. And again, this is scholarships. We'll talk about some different terms pretty soon. Companies provide about 26.1%. And there's some other statistics as well. Most scholarships do not require an academic average. Most of them. Most of them do not require academic average. So if you've ever heard anybody tell you that you need to be an A+ student, 4.0 GPA to get scholarships, tell them you are wrong. This is the statistics. Most of them actually do not require any kind of average at all. Right? Some of them, yes, they might require a certain average above, and these are usually maybe some of the more kind of, you could say valuable, or maybe has a lot more money attached to it. But it's not always the case. There are many scholarships that have no GPA requirement at all. Yes, indigenous people do get the most amount of specific scholarships, but visible minorities, and we'll talk about this one as well, get about 6.2%. And there are some Muslim and Islamic scholarships available as well. We'll talk about that. There's some deadlines. Some personal circumstances for why people get certain scholarships. Top 15 activities, academic excellence, school or community service, leadership. Inshallah, in the workshop that we'll have, in the actual activity, I've accumulated kind of certain subtopics that if you were to fill those out, it would actually address most of these that are applying for some of these scholarships, inshallah. Cool. Renewable scholarships are amazing. For those of you who can get renewable scholarship, this is great. Because this means you can renew that scholarship every single year. Right? They're very hard to come by, most of them are non-renewable. But if you can get any scholarships that are renewable, most of these are usually provided by the university themselves. If you can get one of those ones will set you up for quite a bit of success. But those are really hard to find and really hard to get as well. Right. So those are some statistics. I just wanted to show you guys some of that. So we will be doing an activity here. So again, just want to make sure I can share my screen here. Apologies. So if you go on to menti.com, everybody can go on to menti.com and use this code. We'll do a little bit of a poll, and this is called Muslim Money Myths. And this is about the best name I can come up with this. But this is basically certain things that people say when it comes to scholarships. And the goal is for you to say, is it true or is it false? Let me know if everybody is on it, inshallah. I wonder if there is a QR code. There. Here's a QR code as well if you would like to scan. everybody on 19? Anybody not on? Anyone still waiting?
No.
I'll give maybe another minute or so. And goal is for you to say, is it true or is it false? So we'll get started here, inshallah, for the sake of time. There are no scholarships specifically for Muslim students. Majority of you guys say false. That is true. That is, the fact that it's false is true. It's not that it's true. There are actually many scholarships available for Muslim students. There's an organization called MAX. It's actually Muslim Academic Excellence. And they have a lot of specific scholarships for Muslim students. So again, you being Muslim actually gives you an advantage. Us being Muslim is an advantage because we have some Muslim specific scholarships that there are available. So for everyone here, I highly recommend that you guys make sure that you apply to these Muslim scholarships. These are literally meant for us. If you don't apply, we're not taking advantage of the system that is, fixing itself for us, inshallah. Okay, next question. You have to be extremely poor to qualify for scholarships. You have to be dirt poor, homeless, have nothing to your name in order to qualify for scholarships. You're going to be like 5 seconds. 12 of you guys say false? Yes, that is false, 100%. You do not have to be poor at all, actually, to qualify for scholarships. Scholarships in itself, the term, it refers to money that you get for your, for example, extracurriculars or for academic standing. Now, bursaries, we'll talk about the difference between these two, but bursaries are ones that are for financial. So this one actually, you do need to kind of showcase low income status, be able to be eligible for those bursaries specifically. Wearing hijab or having a Muslim name lowers your chances of getting a scholarship. Let's see. I'm curious what the answer is for this one for you guys. Okay. Majority of you guys are saying false. Some of you guys are saying true. For those who are saying true, anyone want to actually say why they think it's true? That's okay as well. Actually, yes, the answer is false. It does not lower your chance. Actually, it gives you guys an advantage. If you ever see the billboards, especially for, again, I'm not meaning to target Muslim hijabis, but the reality is, right, you being, for example, Muslim, female, and being a hijab, you being visibly diverse, actually gives you a lot more advantage. So for Muslim sisters, you'll find actually based on yourself, you might actually be eligible for a scholarship based on that diversity. But having a Muslim name, being Muslim, practicing Islam, all of these things does not disqualify you from scholarships at all. Unless you're applying for some very specific weird ones, and it gets very weird, by the way. Most of the scholarships, they're very impartial, and it's based on who you are as a person. Only straight A students get scholarships. False, false, false. Yes, this is false. And honestly, it's like I showed you in the statistics before. Honestly, it does not matter what your GPA is, right? If you want to finance your schools for scholarships, there's opportunities available, right? And again, about 96% of them does not take into account your academic standing at all. Right? So this is very much false. If your parents earn a decent income, you won't qualify for any scholarships. This is a tricky question. Majority of you guys are saying false. False, false, false. Yes, I would argue the answer is false. Unless anybody has seen otherwise. I'm not sure if you guys have been applying scholarships. If you guys have seen otherwise. I would say majority of the time, the answer to this statement is false. Right? If your parents earn a decent income, you won't qualify for scholarship, this is false. Right? There are times when you have to showcase your financial information and your family financial information. Right? Especially if you're applying for university, they will ask you, okay, what is your parents' salary? Right? before taxes. All of this information is taken into account. But in terms of scholarships itself, right? Honestly, what your parents earn does not matter. So they could earn $1 million every single year, and you would still be qualified for the scholarships. And if they don't earn as much, you'll still be qualified for the same scholarships. So it does not matter which scholarship specifically. There are scholarships that help cover non-tuition costs like books and housing. What do you guys think? Okay, majority of you guys are going for blue. True? Yes, this is true. Right? For those of you who want to go out of province, want to live by yourselves, worried about income in that way, there are scholarships that you can get that can cover, for example, books, for your housing, for your spending, all of these things, right? For your food, accommodations. There are scholarships available. Again, they're far and few, and they're harder to find, but they are available. Some scholarships are only open to students who actively serve their community. True or false? Everyone's going true. Yes, I would argue actually that this is true. There are some scholarships, for example, there are some scholarships that are only open to those people who participate in golf, for example. Or some people who participate in a certain organization, right? For example, Islamic Relief has their own scholarships. So if you volunteer with Islamic Relief, you qualify for that, for example, right? Many organizations like this have certain scholarships available for their members. So sometimes you have to kind of pick where you want to volunteer based on are they able to support your financial kind of future when it comes to your education. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Community service at the masjid, and I hear this so often. Community service at the masjid does not count as real volunteer work. The amount of times I was younger, I had to discuss with my parents about volunteering at the masjid counting as real volunteer work is numerous. I think many of us have a fundamental misunderstanding of what volunteer work means. Volunteer work does not mean that you have to go into those remote places of like Sudan and sweat a lot and go to third world countries and help out and build wells. Volunteer work can be something so simple as just making cards for your neighbors, showing people's driveways, helping out each other, doing a workshop, anything like this can count as volunteer work. And actually, the more unique the work is, the more chances you have. Scholarships are only for high school students. I already answered this question. But yes, the answer is false. Scholarships available for people of all ages. Small scholarships aren't worth applying for, and I have an interesting story on this. I had a friend who would actually only choose to apply to small scholarships. And these, when I say small, these are like maybe $50, $100, $150, $200, within this range. But he applied to so many of them. And the thing is, most people, they don't apply to the small scholarships because they're like, they're nothing, right? I would rather apply to the Rhodes Scholarship that gives me like $15,000 instead. Right? But I had this friend who almost finished his entire school just by applying to these small scholarships. And the good thing about small scholarships is most of them don't require you to, doesn't require the money to be sent directly to the university. Right? It actually comes to you in your bank account. So yes, you can apply to enough small scholarships that you can fund your entire university degree. Right? There's a lot of them, it's going to apply to a lot of them. And I'll tell you some tricks, inshallah, on how we can do that. That is the end of this exercise. So we'll go back onto our presentation. One second to recast. Stop casting. Okay, now we'll quickly talk about some terms. We're about 4:40 right now, so we're on time, inshallah. There is this website. It's called the Alberta Student Aid website. What is this website for? You want to apply for loans? You want to apply for grants? Alberta Student Aid. And they open, I believe, in June for every academic year. So if you want to apply for example, the coming September semester, you have to apply in June. But it's open throughout the semester. So even if later you want to apply, you can. But it just depends on which year you want to apply for or which time you want to apply for. This is for, again, loans, grants. There are some scholarships available as well. For example, let's say you're applying for the Rutherford Scholarship. Those of you who are in high school, if you want to apply for the Rutherford Scholarship, you do it through Alberta Student Aid. If you want to find government scholarships. You can find it through Alberta Student Aid.
Where did you say do look for scholarship? Alberta Student Aid?
Alberta Student Aid, yes. So it gives you some information as well at the very top. It tells you about the scholarships. Yes, right there. And it gives you lots of different opportunities. So this is a great website to just keep on hand and keep looking at it again and again. If you click the scholarships site there, it gives you some of these. Right? And I find a lot of these are unclaimed. A lot of students actually don't claim it. I have a funny story. I applied to a women's scholarship only because I read the description of it, and the description said it is for people who are in a program in which you are the lesser seen gender. Right? For example, if you're a woman in STEM, right? I was a man in nursing, right? So I read this description, even though it's a women's scholarship, I actually applied for it. Alhamdulillah, actually applied. So sometimes you have to kind of think out the box, go past just the title, and look at the actual requirements and see if you actually fit in it. And that was one of the ones that was featured here. But most people actually don't look at this. They actually don't know about this. They go on to student aid and I think it's only for loans, all of that. But you can actually find scholarships. And these scholarships are actually really good, really easy to get. Right? As long as you meet the requirements, because it's from the government, as long as you meet the requirements, for the most part, you will be getting it, inshallah. So this is a really good website to have. And I don't believe there's a limit on how many people actually get it, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so some differences between the terminologies. And this is actually something that we talked about in our very first session. We talked about University 101. This is actually the second session talking about scholarships based on that. But just quickly, what is scholarships? What is bursaries? Again, scholarships and bursaries, you do not have to pay them back. That's the best part. It's not your money, right? But it is now your money. Right? It's not your money. You don't have to work for it, you have to apply for it. Yes, it might take a little bit of time, but this is money you don't have to pay back. This is good money. So scholarships are mostly on merit, right? They're on merit. For example, if you play a certain sport, if you do a certain thing. There was a scholarship that I saw, it was about $200, but it was for if you do not smoke. Right? So if you're a non-smoker, you can get, I guess, a specific scholarship. So you can find all these different things, but it's based on merit. Bursaries are something that's based on financial need, and usually these are offered by university. So if you go onto university websites and took bursaries, right, you can find, if you find yourself in a kind of financially difficult situation, maybe you're an independent student, maybe your family's low income, then bursaries are something that you can get as well. Sometimes the bursaries require something specific with it as well. For example, I've seen some where it's like you have to be low income and you have to be able to speak French. So if you can do both of these things, then you're eligible for this bursary, for example. Different types, so there's university scholarships. These are offered by the university themselves. These are great because you don't have to do any extra work. They kind of handle it. It goes towards your tuition for the most part. Government or private scholarships. These ones require usually a little bit more effort. You have to find them, and you gotta fill out the applications and all of that. Community and faith-based scholarships. And there are some scholarships available like this as well. Like for example, there's Iman Awards from Mac Calgary, and they have some scholarships available for top performing students as well. So sometimes our own communities have scholarships like this. But again, you have to just keep an eye out to see what are being distributed. And some areas you can search: Scholartree, Wyconic, Scholarships Canada, Universities Canada. Now, if you came to this workshop thinking I'm going to give you all the list of different websites you can go on to, then you came to the wrong workshop. Because I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I want to give you something even better. Right? Because I'll tell you, majority of the scholarships you'll find on this, probably you cannot even claim them. Right? Because majority of them will be very specific, that you have to go to a specific university or be in this specific thing. But I'm going to give you guys actually a tool that you can use to narrow down the search, so the ones that you do apply for, you can have more chance of success in it, inshallah. Grants, these are from the government themselves. You do not have to pay them back either. Again, these are good. Right? This is what I've written here. Free government funding. Yes, this is money that the government will give you. Right? And it's up to $4,000 per, I believe, year, academic year.